We had another horrifying escalation in the Middle East as yesterday Israeli airstrikes in Gaza claimed the lives of 20, including civilians, while 4 Israeli soldiers were killed and dozens injured in a Hezbollah drone attack. Tensions mount and the humanitarian crisis is deepening and the international community remains on edge. Declan, first of all, we want to talk to you about the attacks on UNIFIL by the IDF. What is going on precisely? What is their purpose?
Okay, Pat. I think the purpose is a campaign of intimidation and harassment. I don't think there's a genuine desire by the IDF to seriously injure or kill members of UNIFIL. But if you look in the broad and the round about this, the attacks and the harassment are part of what seems to be a wider attempt to shape a narrative. Now, the on-the-ground reality is Israel is hell-bent on going in and dismantling Hezbollah's apparatus, its apparatus to launch offensive attacks into Israeli territory, be they missile attacks or be they incursions. And that's if you look at the statements emanating from them, a lot of their operations are around justifying the dismantling of villages, the demolition of villages, I should say, and attacks there, and finding tunnels, finding clusters of munitions, and coalescent points. Now, the thing that is somewhat disturbing that I've noticed as well is that in addition to this, IDF statements are saying that UNIFIL posts, on one hand, they're talking about wanting them to clear out for their own protection, their own safety. And then there is an additional mention of UNIFIL posts being used as firing points for Hezbollah, and that in some cases facilitating or being used by Hezbollah. Now that's not true, and maybe there have been occasions where there have been in recent times some rockets fired in proximity to UNIFIL posts, but it would be incorrect to say that they're being facilitating. They've been facilitating attacks. So I see this as maybe a kind of getting the retaliation first, that if the IDF do cause serious injury to peacekeepers, that they would be trying to justify it, saying that UNIFIL had unintentionally become part of the Hezbollah problem. Now, that's not true, to put that into place. That's confusing the issue, and it's a dangerous confusion.
And what do you make of the stories that close to where the IDF struck at the UNIFIL base, that UNIFIL troops were becoming ill, they had stomach aches, and they were absolutely upset by it. The suggestion is maybe gas released by the IDF, not a lethal gas, but upsetting gas. What do you make of that?
Well, I think if there was any truth to the fact that it was a gas as such, I think UNIFIL would have issued a statement about it, and I think they would have been able, the troops on the ground would have been able to determine that. I think what did happen was, I think smoke was fired, and anyone who's ever experienced those kinds of things, it is not comfortable if you're engulfed in that, and it will have an impact on your cardiovascular system. It will have an impact. It can nauseate you. And I think, again, it's a stepping up or another step in the intimidation and harassment campaign. I don't think, again, that they were setting out to gas UNIFIL troops, because if there was any evidence of that, UNIFIL would have issued it. UNIFIL have been very quick to issue statements, quicker than I would have expected, where they have been putting blame where it deserves to be, and accusing Israel of deliberate attacks. Now, deliberate attacks does not mean that they're saying that is an Israeli command and control led policy, but what they are saying is that the Israeli troops on the ground who are doing these things know what they're doing. It's not an accident.
Okay, now your colleague Senator Tom Clonan was saying that we should rotate the Irish troops out of 652, where they're isolated, 30 of them. Is any kind of, it might be wise if you could get them out, give them a little rest from the tension and intimidation and all the rest, but is it safe to rotate?
Well, I understand Tom's consideration there, and he in essence, it would be nice if you could do that. But I mean, I would be driven if I was making that decision. If I was the battalion commander, I would be driven by what the commander of the troops at 652 was telling me. I would be driven by the reports I would be getting from J3 and J2, the operations and intelligence officers. Because, yeah, it would be lovely to rotate them, to give them a break, but not if it's going to put their lives in jeopardy by moving them. And I know from my own experience that shelter in place is the safest thing to do when there is high intensity operations going on around you. You're reducing and mitigating risk considerably by just bunkering down, and you're in your territory that you have already shored up.
Now, finally, I should ask you what the drone penetration of the Iron Dome by Hezbollah indicates to you about their capabilities.
I don't see it as anything terribly significant. If anything, I see it as beneficial to the Israelis to justify them pounding Hezbollah in an even more deadlier way. It was maybe a propaganda coup. They obviously killed 4 Israeli soldiers and wounded a number of others. But I think if Hezbollah had significant capacity to strike using drones, they would be doing it. I mean, certainly if they have significant capacity to do any strategic damage to Israel, now is the time for them to be doing it. I don't see this as dissuading or diminishing or derailing the Israeli onslaught.
You don't think this represents any improvement in the technology available to Hezbollah from the Iranians or whoever that enable this to happen? Because the Americans are sending this THAAD defense system, which is much more sophisticated, it appears, than what they currently have to protect them from aerial onslaught.
Well, I think that's convenient. It's good to have the justification. But if you roll it back, Pat, and you think about it, the Israelis have demonstrated their complete penetration of Hezbollah. They have had a very accurate intelligence picture of late that has allowed them to take out the top layer of leadership in Hezbollah, virtually unimpeded. So therefore, Israel's intelligence picture of Hezbollah and its capabilities right now at this point in time it's not 100%, but it's not far off it. So I don't see them as being surprised by this. I don't see them as being concerned about this. I think it's a very convenient fig leaf to justify further deployment of US weapon systems in support of Israel.